So a couple of weeks ago I made a video about how sometimes internet trolls are just sad and annoying, and other times internet trolls are still sad but also genuinely destructive and dangerous. And this week we've had a great example of that second type of trolling with the sexist gamer dude attack on Anita Sarkeesian. Anita does a web video series named Feminist Frequency, which if you watch my stuff you should already be watching hers. And recently she set up a Kickstarter page for a new project looking at the representation of women in video games. And after the Kickstarter page went up, a whole bunch of gamer dudes decided, even though they haven't heard what her opinion is yet, that the mere idea of this woman presuming to form an opinion about them at some point in the future was so frightening that they had to organize a scorched earth campaign of harassment and bullying against her. And Anita has handled the whole situation incredibly well, and her project is wound up getting more support and funding than ever. So in this instance, the private army of sexist dudes has only succeeded in proving her right and making her stronger. But it's still been an intensely ugly spectacle. It raises a whole lot of questions about why this happens so often and why so many dudes think it's okay to persecute and harass and abuse women online. A lot of these dudes, if you challenge them, will tell you that they don't have any real feelings about this and they're just trolling for the fun of it. That they don't really hate women, they just think it's funny to treat women as if they hate them. And that, I mean, first of all, you're lying to yourself. There's clearly more to it than that. And second of all, that doesn't make it any better. Only somebody who hates women and sees them as less than human would even think that's a meaningful distinction. And I don't know what I could say that would get through to someone who's so invested in detaching from their own humanity, so I'm just gonna think about that and come back to it. And for now, I'm just gonna say to everyone else, and especially my fellow dudes, that when you see something like that going on, you, and by you I mean we, have an obligation to speak out against it more often. It's really not cool for us to just shrug our shoulders and say that's just 4chan being 4chan. And it's really not okay for you to jump into somebody's discussion of this harassment and derail it with a bunch of comments about, well sure, harassment is bad, but men are discriminated against too. Feminists are always making something out of nothing and blah 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 blah. No, man, now is not the time for that. If you need to have that debate, there are plenty of other times for it. If you need to show off your debating skills and try to make fetch happen with the misandry thing, there's plenty of other times for that. If you want to debate Anita Sarkeesian's debates of video game culture, there's plenty of times for that, like for example after she makes the critiques. But none of that stuff is the issue right now. The issue right now is the bullying and abuse and harassment that she's facing. And you should recognize that that harassment is wrong, and that's what matters right now, regardless of your political position on misandry and men's rights and blah 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 blah. This kind of abuse and harassment matters, and when it happens in our corner of the internet, we need to treat it like it matters. We need to speak up and let them know that we're not impressed by how edgy and fearless they are. That it's pathetic that they really still think that sandwich joke is funny. That when you bully and harass a woman for speaking her mind, all you do is show us that you're afraid of that woman's voice and you don't think you can beat her intellectually without using a cheat code. No matter what scene on the internet is your scene, if you are a dude on the internet and you see other dudes in your scene harassing women or transgender people or anyone else who's outside of our little privileged corner of the gender spectrum, we need to speak up. We need to treat this like it matters. We need to add some extra humanity into our scene to counteract their detachment from their humanity.